Now, this was a day we had an awful lot of paint work to do, and I tried to condense this down into one day. Both Vince and Larry were coming over to the shop to do some paint work. And previously we had gotten, and this is the Suzuki that Vince is working on, we had gotten a tank. He basically prepped it, sanded it. We primed the parts, got them sanded, backmasked, and we had the white painted, the part of the bike that's going to be white. And this is a DL1000 Suzuki, I believe. And there was a little bit of Bondo work to do, not too bad, nothing that was major. But the big problem was on this whole project was to match the paint. The paint match was a giant problem because the parts that came from China were a color that it's a metallic orange, candy apple orange, that nobody locally was able to match. So what happened is our good friend Dave Midgley stepped up to the plate. He had some toner that was pretty close to what we were looking for and graciously donated it to our project. But again, matching the parts, that's a whole nother item when you're matching candy apple. Now, of course, if they still made candy apple paint, the company is out of business, and luckily Dave bought up the last of the material. But Larry had an easy job. He had, and I guess it's funny here, he had broken this is the back part that holds the seat. He had a spare one, a brand new one, and he sold it on eBay, and 2 weeks later his part broke. I don't think, this could only happen to poor Larry. So he found this one off eBay. Now the guy guaranteed him that it was aluminum, and when we got it, well, Larry got it, picked it up, a magnet sticks to it perfectly, so guess what? It ain't aluminum. Unless there's some new blend of aluminum that's magnetized, I don't know. And it's heavy too. But anyway, the good news is I don't think this part will break as easy as the aluminum one. And because Larry's got several seats for his Ducati, and because we're going to be doing a lot of work on his bike over the winter, so probably this won't even matter. This is just a temporary fix, a band-aid approach. But now Larry found out, and this is very common in the world of Ducatis and in the world of red paint, I guess, all Ferraris too. What had happened is that the paint he had mixed by Chard wasn't an exact match to his Ducati when he did the fairings. And so you never take into account the fact that red fades very quickly in the sun, no matter how much UV protection you have on it. And he found out off the internet that this color, Cardinal red, for any of you guys that are a model airplane guy, Cardinal was my unique name for my designs. And so what happened is he bought one can of this paint, thinking, all right, we'll see if it matches. Well, when I looked at this, I thought right away, first thing happened is he ran out of primer. Now luckily I had some extra primer. And because I guess it's just the luck of the draw here, when he got done priming, we used up some of the primer that I had, and we even used my primer up, so I don't know about this. He had to do a lot of sanding, a lot of little filling, and some of the parts on it were kind of rough. We had to use a metal grinder around it. Again, I don't know if this part was in an accident or not, but it was kind of labor intensive getting this done. In fact, I took a picture of his feet here for some reason. But like everything, if you just grind away long enough and sand everything long enough, and you can see in the background here, we're starting to use up all my primer here. So Larry, bring a case of primer to the shop next time, not a can. Now I looked at it, and this is our grinder for grinding away at some of the parts on here that were in pretty rough shape. But again, if you bought this part new from Ducati, it's probably very expensive, and he got this, I think, for $100, a little over $100, so. And again, I'm not sure. Here he is detailing out some of the little parts on it. And what's happened since Larry's been painting at my shop for about a year now, maybe a little less, a little more, he's gotten pretty good, to be totally honest. And I wanted him to use this as a training part. And I didn't touch it at all. He did all the work. And I just kind of, you know, I was in management or whatever you call it. And I thought he did a real nice job. Now, the trick with this color, we didn't know if the color was going to match. and we were expecting Vince any minute. Vince was at Gavin's buying up the paint for the Suzuki project. But you never know on any of these matches. This can be really nice, it can be really close, and it can be really off. But he heard on the internet, and because Larry's a big internet guy, all these guys that spend their life on the internet, they do learn some useful information. I mean, among 10 bad advice things, there's probably one good one every once in a while. But anyway, he got this done. I showed him the method I like to use for propping it up off the table. What that does is get the dust that inherently is on the table not to wind up in the paint. And actually, I'm very impressed that last winter when Larry was painting Ducati parts here and fairings and mirrors and whatever he was painting, he's actually gotten pretty good at it. And of course his riding skill is getting better, and I hope he's going to get his track bike squared away over the winter, and he's got the greatest set of twins on the planet. Karen and I love to hear the stories about his twins. Anyway, Vince shows up. We've got the paint now for this part of the project, and this is the color we're trying to match. And Larry had thought it would be close to a Hayabusa color. He looked up on his internet thing that it might be a Harley color, but nothing that Gavin's had was even close. And plus Vince, who's a professional artist, and I do mean professional, he really is good. I'll show some of his work later in here. He had done all the graphics for this project, got the graphics ready, and I showed him the method we use in model aviation, using tin foil and the impression method to do the backmasking. It lets the 1/8" tape outline pop up through the tin foil, and you can do a real nice, neat, very efficient way of backmasking. So you outline everything first with an outline of 1/8" green tape. And what this does, it minimizes how much tape and how much, if you did this with newspaper, how many joints would be in here, or if you did it with shelf paper or whatever. And it's a nice way. It's the way most modeling is done. It's a method we learned from our late friend Walt Prey, and it's really a good, a good way to do it, I guess. And again, Vince was, because he's a professional artist, he's very skeptical about all this, and he's giving me the eagle eye here and saying, well, I don't know about this. So it's like I've got him in church, but he's not praying yet. But anyway, we did get out and do a little test part. I mixed up a little batch of the orange. I wanted to see if this was going to work, but by the time we actually got to paint, we had all the silver drying, and then Karen brought out this really great lunch. She had some homemade soup. Now, I don't know what there is. Larry loves Karen's homemade soup. And we got Vince converted. We finally got him praying. He's at the altar praying. You like the soup? Yeah, but, of course, we have to get back to work here. We're getting paid by the hour or by the paint drop or something. So the two projects we had to do today, we got to get the rest of the silver on the tank. Then we got to get the backmasking done on the tank. Get the silver over the primer. And what we're doing is, as one part is dry and Larry is getting the clear, he's got to get 3 coats of clear on his tail section here. He got the first coat on. Here, I got a nice picture of my shoe, which happens relatively often. And this is the moment of truth. This is like the moment you say, you know, the roulette wheel stops turning. And even though this is a pretty nice color, and I think it's a spectacular car. Now, if this was a Harley or a Hayabusa or something, this would really be probably a good choice. And this color with black and white striping, I could picture this. But of course, it's all in the eye of the beholder. So once I got this is the first from the orange mix, and we had to mix this with the toner from Dave. And it's a spectacular color. I mean, and this is just the color. There's no clear on this. And you can see the reflection of the building and whatever here. And as this dried up, because it was a wonderful day. This is a day I would have tried to ride all day if we were not working in the shop. It was just that kind of day. And I had some track bike work to do in the morning. What we're trying to do is move this muffler in closer to the bike, but because of the way this head pipe is, it isn't working out. So I'm going to let Luciano look at it and see if he wants the hacksaw the thing up. But basically, this was drying up now. We try to get it away from where any bugs or dust could fly on it in the bike part of the shop. Larry's got the second coat of clear on this, and what always happens is we were worried that the clear would not go over the spray can paint. Sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't like spray can paint. Sometimes it does. So it's a little roll of the dice. We did a little test on the bottom. It looked like it was going to work out okay. And then it was time for the big parts. The big orange and the big parts. And this is where, when you're painting anything candy apple, you really have to get that you don't see any zebra striping, and I thought it came out pretty good. In fact, for any candy apple job, this was pretty good. And then Larry was on the last coat of clear. He wanted to take that part home because I think he wants a ride tomorrow or the next day. But once that part dries 24 hours, he'll be able to obviously snap it together, or maybe even the next day if you're real careful with the bolts and you don't chew it up. It takes about 24 hours to really harden. But again, I wanted to give Larry full credit. He's really come a long way with his painting skills. And of course, this is the biggest part. We always save the biggest part to last. And again, because Vince is an artist, he knows about color matching. He knows about a lot of things that maybe an average non-artist wouldn't know. And of course, we're all trying to put an eye on it and look for anything that needs to be upgraded. I think the thing came out pretty good myself. And one of the choices we have is the few parts on this that don't match. Over the winter, we could always backmask them and just pull those parts off in a matter of an hour or so and paint them. So it wouldn't be a big deal, but it would be a big deal now because the bike is off the road and the guy that owns the bike would really like to get some riding in. And again, the way that part worked out, I just thought it was real good. So I don't know if you can see this. I thought I'd take a picture. This was some engineering drawings Vince had done for a supercharged or a nitrous oxide air shifting GS 1100 or 1000 drag bike that a friend of his had that turned into sixes. And I looked at the drawings and I said, wow, you know, obviously I can't do this, but... And Karen is kind of, in her own way, a little bit of an amateur artist, and she enjoys doing paintings for our house, but we're certainly not going to sell anything. But I think Vince is, when I looked at some of the artwork that he did, I thought it was just unbelievable. Now, I've been to art school as a kid, but not as an adult, and I know maybe a little bit of the basics, but certainly nothing like Vince knows. But what I do know is I know how to make a great blend of iced tea and pretzels. And so we spent the afternoon, and I thought Vince went and got his folder with all his artwork in. He was showing Karen, and of course Karen has a great interest in this. In fact, that's all she's talked about in the last day or so. She's actually painted oil paintings that are now in Luciano's house, in our house, in her kids' house, and some of our other friends' houses. But she does it just for fun. So nice picture Vince made of the Tappan Zee Bridge, and I mean this is a unique skill to have this, and he's got a portfolio of these that I think is really cool. And the one Larry liked, the eagle, he was thinking if he could get a tattoo of that on his neck or something, that'd be cool. I don't know. I'm not sure. But this one I thought, now there's a story behind this. I always, when Karen and I go to a restaurant, even a pizza place, and they say, well, what can I get for you? I said, can you get me a drink from the Fountain of Youth? And yeah, this is really a cool picture. It says the Fountain of Youth up here. And this is all, this is really something unique that, and again, if you're not an artist, maybe you don't appreciate it because, I don't know, I see Karen in all her lessons and everything. I do appreciate it. And Vince, the next time we get to work on this will probably be next week. We'll try to finish up this project and maybe even put it and make another little video off for YouTube. So I hope you enjoyed sharing that day with us.